Hello, good morning, the Camnet TV viewer. This is the breakfast show that comes to your screen every morning from 07 hours to 09 hours, where we discuss a lot of important happenings in the country. And of course, today it is a beautiful Thursday. Well, we are glad that we have woken up, we are alive. We take life sometimes for granted, thinking when you wake up it's your own doing. No, it is God's doing. And it is just important to give thanks to God. My name is Prudence Jota. I am your host, and of course, I am not alone. I am joined by my colleague who's definitely going to introduce herself. My colleague, good morning.
Good morning, Camnet viewers. I'm your co-host, Cherish. Good morning, Prudence.
Good morning, Cherish. Thank you so much for joining me on this program. Today, I'm very hopeful that we are going to have a fruitful discussion. So as I was saying, most of the time when we wake up in the morning, we take it for granted. Did you even thank God this morning for waking you up?
I did thank God because, to be honest, it's not by my might or by my power. It's by God's grace that I'm alive. And every day we need to thank God.
Yeah, it is important. People think maybe waking up and saying thanks to God will take you a lot of time. Sometimes when you just open your eyes, if you feel lazy just to get out of your bed and kneel and say thank you, just even when you are there, just say thank you for waking me up this morning. It's not really that you have to say a lot of words,
no,
but it is important. Please don't misquote me. It is important for you to pray in the morning and stuff like that. But where you feel you are unable, it is even important to just say thank you to God for waking us in the morning. It's not easy. While we are alive, fit, and everything kicking, some of our friends, Cherish, are in hospital.
They're dying at oxygen. Some can't breathe. Some can't even open their eyes. And you're here freely. God has given you life. Just say thank you. It doesn't cost you anything. Just say thank you.
Yeah, that is very important. And then talking about that, if you have your morning devotion, of course, you also have to do one little thing that is supposed to keep you fit, and that is a morning boost, exercising. You're supposed to exercise. I'm sure Cherish, the last time I was with her on set, she mentioned that she does not exercise because she doesn't want to be skinny. Hey, God. Exercising does not mean reducing weight or becoming skinny. Please, we want to napapata. Exercising just means you keep fit, kicking. You have to do your daily activities in a fit manner. And that is what exercising does to our body. It doesn't mean you'll lose weight when you begin to exercise. I think this is where we get it wrong. So exercising is very important. Sometimes it helps even prevent diseases, Cherish.
Yes, I went and I read and I got to understand that exercising, especially in the morning and in the evening, is good for your health. It helps pump your blood. It helps relaxes you. So you should exercise in the morning and in the evening.
Yeah. Very important. So Camnet TV viewer, we love you. That's why we bring you the morning boost every time we come on this program. So let's go into our morning boost, even as we get to exercise.
It's a beautiful morning and I welcome you to Morning Boost. I'm so glad that you've tuned in and hope you had a great night. So let's do some workouts this morning and we're going to have a great time. So we're going to start with a warm-up and then make some aerobics movements for today. Okay, ready? Let's go. A beautiful morning to everybody and welcome to Morning Boost. Let's go. Go. And the V step now. Let's go. Last V step. Back to step touch. V step. Let's go. Let's go. And marching. And 4, 3, 2, step touch, go. Bring in your hands now. Let's go. Let's go. Just a quick workout in the morning. Not a full-fledged workout, no. Keep going. And 4, 3, 2, hamstring, go. Four, 3, 2, step touch. Four, 3, 2, and hamstring. And 4, 3, 2, step touch. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Keep going. Stay at it. Go. Easy basic workouts for the morning. And marching. Skip, jump now. Go. Let's go. Skip. Try this. Even if you feel heavy in your body, you can do this. Let's go. There's always a first time. You may struggle, but it's doable. Let's go. And 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Change now. Let's go. Very easy for a morning workout. Lift your knee very high. Go. Let's go. Stay at it. Stay at it. We're going to bring in a kick now from a knee high to a kick. Go. Go. Let's go. Let there be a blood circulation on your legs so that you don't have that numbness you feel at times. Kick. 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 Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Straight kicks now. Go. Straight kicks. Go in the sides. Okay. Keep going. Almost done with our 5 minutes workout. Knee high. Try this every morning. It's going to do wonders to your body. Let's go. We're almost there. All right, team. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. This is Isaac Matza, your presenter. I'm going to see you next time at the same time. And have a great day. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.
I hope you have exercised this morning. Remember, Camnet TV loves you. That's why we bring everything, including things that will keep you fit. And of course, you moving on with your daily activities. I always emphasize to say you cannot be fully functional if at all you do not keep your body fit and healthy. So that's why it is important to exercise. If you can't exercise the time the morning boost is playing in the morning, ensure that in the evening when you knock off Cherish, my colleague, you go back to the morning breakfast show and go to that segment where you needed to exercise. I think you can even do this in the comfort of your home with your children. I think this is fun. Doing it with your children, you know, you are following him with your kids.
And that's simple exercise.
Yeah, and as a family in the living room, if you can't do that in your bedroom with your spouse, if you at all you are married, you can exercise together. I think, it's romantic. Camnet TV loves you. That's why we bring you all these things in order to keep you fit. So ensure that you exercise every morning, or rather in the evening. Do this with your family, do this with your children, do this with your spouses. You can always exercise to keep fit. Cherish. And of course, talking about exercising, we also talk We also rather bring you the Doctor's Corner on this program, where the doctors basically talk about a lot of illnesses that is around. How is it that you can prevent it? And sometimes they even talk about the things that we don't know. Last time we had a doctor who was talking about migraines. Sometimes we take this for granted. You just have a migraine or headache, you just go and buy Panadol and take Brufen.
When there's something serious that's causing the migraine.
You might not know. Even sometimes I hear people have maybe cancer to the brain or tumor. Sometimes it starts with a migraine. But imagine where you have this serious problem, you need to start going through chemo, but you decide to be taking Panadol, which is not helping. This is why we are finding that by the time you are realizing the complication that you have, it is too late for...
And there's nothing that can be done.
There's really nothing that can be done about that. So, Cherish, I hope you learn one or two things from the doctors, what they say, and don't self-prescribe.
No, I don't self-prescribe because it's bad. Sometimes it gets worse to a point where your prescriptions can't help you. So let's get to the Doctor's Corner. Let's hear what the doctor has to say.
Morning. My name is Dr. Songiwe Chiluba, and I'm from the Medical Women's Association of Zambia, MWAS. So remember, for this week, we're looking at sickle cell disease, and this is the 4th day in the series. Remember, so far we've looked at what sickle cell disease is, what is the prevalence of the disease, the signs and symptoms, as well as how the disease is diagnosed. And for today, we're going to look at the complications of sickle cell disease. But then, before we proceed, a quick recap on what sickle cell disease is. So sickle cell disease is an inherited condition that results from inheritance of abnormal genes coding for hemoglobin, leading to the production of an abnormal form of hemoglobin, which is hemoglobin S. Now remember, hemoglobin is an important component of our red blood cells that is responsible for carrying oxygen to all the different parts of our bodies. So when a patient has sickle cell disease, there will be a defect in the ability of these red blood cells to be able to carry oxygen throughout our bodies. Okay? And this is why it brings us to one of the most important aspects of this topic, which is the complications of sickle cell disease. So sickle cell disease can actually affect almost all the organ systems in our bodies. So we're going to discuss the complications system by system. So we're going to start with the central nervous system. Essentially, we're going to talk about the brain. So in the central nervous system, sickle cell disease has complications including strokes or cerebrovascular accidents. So these strokes can actually occur even from really young ages, and is actually one of the most common causes of strokes in the pediatric population or in children. Apart from that, sickle cell disease also has psychological complications, okay? In that you have a child or you have this person that has to grow up with this chronic medical condition that they're going to have to manage throughout their lives. So because of that, it has various psychological implications. Okay. Apart from that, because of the likelihood of developing strokes, sickle cell can actually lead to the development of epilepsy in some patients. Okay. So apart from the central nervous system, sickle cell can also affect the respiratory system. So in the respiratory system, acute chest syndrome. So in acute chest syndrome, what happens is that the blood vessels that are found within the lungs are actually occluded by these abnormal red blood cells, leading to a disruption in the blood supply within the lungs, hence leading to the condition called acute chest syndrome. Apart from that, in the respiratory system, it can also cause what is called pulmonary hypertension, which is just basically an increase in the pressure of the blood going and coming from the lungs. Okay? And this same condition, which is called pulmonary hypertension, can later on affect the heart, causing another condition that is called copulmonale, and eventually can lead to heart failure. Okay? This then leads us to the cardiovascular complications, or the complications in the circulatory system. So firstly, this is a form of anemia. So this is a patient that's going to have chronic anemia. Okay, and apart from that, they can develop heart failure from the anemia itself, or from the respiratory or the lung disease that the sickle cell leads to, or that the sickle cell can cause. Then in the gastrointestinal system, or in the GIT, sickle cell can lead to development of gallstones, a condition that is called cholelithiasis. So it can lead to accumulation of stones within the gallbladder, which is found somewhere close to the liver. Okay, and these gallstones also have their own concurrent complications, including pancreatitis, which is the inflammation of the pancreas, which is one of, again, the important organs that we have in our bodies. And apart from that, sickle cell can also affect the musculoskeletal system, meaning it can affect the muscles, the skin, it can also affect the bones. How so? Sickle cell can lead to what is called avascular necrosis. So remember, the major problem is the red blood cells that become sickle-shaped. So when these red blood cells become sickle-shaped, they can affect the blood supply to the bones as well, leading to avascular necrosis, which just means that the blood vessels have been plugged, or they've been occluded by these sickled red blood cells, hence leading to a reduction or to a loss in blood supply to those bones, leading to the same avascular necrosis. Okay. Apart from that, sickle cell disease patients are also at risk of developing a condition that is called osteomyelitis. So osteomyelitis is a medical condition in which there is an infection leading to inflammation of the bone. Okay. Then apart from that, patients with sickle cell disease also have increased likelihood of developing ulcers. Okay, and these ulcers also take long for them to heal. And one of the reasons is the fact that these patients have chronic anemia, and because there's chronic anemia, the blood supply that is needed for that wound or for those ulcers to heal is not going to be reaching those particular ulcers, and because of that they tend to have these chronic ulcers, which just means they have wounds that last for an extended period of time. Then apart from that, sickle cell can also affect the kidneys. Okay, in the kidneys it can cause a condition that is called papillary necrosis. Okay, this is where again there's compromised blood supply to the kidneys, and because of that, portions of the kidneys start to die out. And with progression of the disease, patients can also develop what is called nephrotic syndrome, and later on can end up with what is called end-stage kidney disease. Okay. Apart from this, the disease can also affect the spleen. So the spleen is one of the important organs in our bodies that is found in our abdomens. So the spleen is actually a portion of our immune system. Okay, and helps to fight off bacteria that are called encapsulated bacteria. So what happens in patients with sickle cell disease is that they undergo a process that is called autosplenectomy. Okay, so when autosplenectomy occurs, it means that the spleen stops functioning. And then since the spleen stops functioning, and then as I've already mentioned, the spleen is part of our immune system. It means that all those bacteria that the spleen was helping us to fight, which are the encapsulated bacteria, are going to be able to now rummage through our systems. So this means that patients with sickle cell disease are going to have increased likelihood of having these infections by encapsulated bacteria. And these include infections such as Streptococcus pneumoniae, which causes pneumonia. It's a common cause of pneumonia. Apart from that, we also have Salmonella, okay, which is also a relatively common infection. So because of this, patients with sickle cell tend to have an increased likelihood of having infections by encapsulated bacteria. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our portion of discussion for today. So just a quick recap. Remember, today we're discussing the complications that come with sickle cell disease. And we also looked at, throughout this week, we looked at what sickle cell is, how sickle cell is diagnosed, and also the signs and symptoms of sickle cell disease. So this has been Dr. Songiwe Chilua from the Medical Women's Association. See you next time.
there you have it. That was Dr. Chiluba. And of course, she was talking about sickle cell and what it causes. A lot of medical terms there that she was using, cherish.
I'm not sure for the layman they were able to understand, but I was able to get what she was talking about. She was talking about diseases that emanate from having the condition sickle cell. She talked about ulcers, she talked about kidney failures, and other things.
At spleen in the abdomen, I think she talked about that.
Yes.
Also.
That the spleen is the one that helps us fight bacteria in the abdomen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that you have sickle cell, there's a probability that you might have a problem there. So please, let's ensure that we visit these health facilities. I strongly believe when your problem is found at an early stage, there is always
hope for cure.
Yes, hope for a cure for anything, or there is hope for you to live a normal life if you follow the right procedures that you are given at the health facility. But if your problem or your condition is detected late,
that's the problem. Most people don't like going to the hospitals. And I think it should be a culture that we should get rid of as Zambians. Go to the hospital. It doesn't cost you anything. I know it may be a book is 3 kwacha. But go and get tested for anything, any little illness that you have. So that it doesn't lead to disaster.
Yeah, very important there. This is the Doctor's Corner. And of course, this program is up for grab on this, is up for sponsorship on this breakfast show. So if you are a sponsor and you would like to see the doctors continue to come on set and just explain some of the things that they do, let us get to sponsor this program so that we continue having the doctors all on Camnet TV in the morning. And even right about now, we are going to look at the money market. It is important to know how is it that our local currency is performing against other major convertibles. For those who are dealing in buying goods outside the country, before you send that money out, you're supposed to know how much am I buying that shirt, that dress, that box of apples. I know we import a lot of apples from South Africa. Yeah, of course it is. When we are talking about diversifying our economy, but we are still importing things like fruits, it leaves a lot of questions as into why. And Zambia is rich in natural resources. We have a lot of water bodies. We have a good rainfall pattern. We have a lot of...
I heard Mauritia saying that Zambia has got a really good rainfall pattern and it should start growing a lot of fruits.
Yeah. I think whatever type of fruits in here in Zambia, with all the 10 provinces that we have, at least there is a province where that particular crop has a suitable, can thrive, and the environment is suitable for it to grow. So I think we need to start diversifying. We need to start growing our own fruits and stuff like that. So we are talking about the money market, where we are going to see how is it that our local currency is performing against other major convertibles. If you are buying goods in the United States dollars, or in the UK, or in America, or you are buying in Germany, if you are buying in France, in Poland, in Mauritius, I think we do import rather a lot of clothing from countries like Mauritius, pardon me, and the UK and stuff like that. Yeah, we do import some clothing. So we have the Mulungushi textile.
Yes, that issue, the Mulungushi textile. I heard there was an economist that said we should completely ban the selling of second-hand clothes so that the Mulungushi textile should thrive, because there's no way you can have an industry that's barely surviving to compete against an industry that is already doing well, which is the thrift market. So I don't know. I'm not really sure if we should completely ban it or maybe just ban it to a certain percentage so that we enable Mulungushi textile to thrive.
Yeah, of course. You know, we grow a lot of cotton in Zambia. The same cotton which we sell in raw material, it goes outside, they make clothes, and clothes come back in Zambia at an expensive price. We buy suits sometimes at 1,500, at 2,000. That's a huge amount of money through the cotton that is grown in Zambia. So now this government is talking about value addition. How do we add value to our cotton? The Molongoshi textile is there. I think it's high time we stopped politicizing the Molongoshi textile and look for real investors or investment. We have local investors or outside investors, whatever the case. We need that Molongoshi textile to start functioning. We need to start producing our own things here.
I think for a long time it has been politicized. We see it opening, we see it closing in this government.
It happens when it is near elections and when elections are done, Molongoshi textile closes. It is really sad. I think we are, if anything, let us discharge politics from the Molongoshi textile. That is an economic vessel that has the potential to create a lot of employment for the local people, and it has the potential to do a lot of wonders in our country because we can produce and manufacture our own clothing at Molongoshi textile. Can we please, our relevant authorities and everyone who's watching us from the authorities, let us see how is it that we can deal with our industry so that we stop importing some of the things. And of course, we're talking about the money market. My tech team, I don't know what is happening there. We need to see how is it that our local currency is performing against other major convertibles. So the Zambian kwacha against the United States dollar is buying at 16 kwacha 85 in Ngwe and selling at 17 kwacha 18 in Ngwe. The Zambian kwacha against the euro is buying at 18 kwacha 89 in Ngwe and selling at 19 kwacha 26 in Ngwe. The Zambian kwacha against the British pound is buying at 20 kwacha 69 in Ngwe and selling at 21 kwacha 10 in Ngwe. The Zambian kwacha against the South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha 06 in Ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 08 in Ngwe. That is the money market for today. The Zambian kwacha there against the United States dollar. We've seen it stabilize over the past months, and of course it has been trending between 16 kwacha to 17 kwacha. So I don't know. Yeah, when we come on this program, usually we say that's a good thing, our kwacha is stable. But again, today, I think there's something that is just bothering me. The Zambian kwacha against the British pound is buying above 20 kwacha and stuff like that. I think we need to see the Zambian kwacha against even these other big convertibles reduce even further than that.
I think mostly we concentrate on the dollar, but we don't see how negatively it impacts us on the other convertibles. Like for the British pound, it's really high.
It's high.
We should get it back below 15 kwacha, I think.
Yeah, of course. We should do that. And of course, for the South African rand, some past few weeks, we saw the Zambian kwacha against the South African rand trending at 1 kwacha, buying at 1 kwacha 02 Ngwe. It went to 1 kwacha 04. But now it's at 1 kwacha 06. And I know we buy a lot of goods from South Africa. So I think even our major our currency against South African rand, we need to see it at least balanced.
If it's at 1 kwacha, let it say at 1 kwacha. Maybe even 4 that would be good.
Because South Africa is an African country here. We have them right here. Why should we also be having a South African rand perform better than our own here in Zambia? If anything, let's see our kwacha even perform better than the South African rand. I remember at one point that was the case. Yes,
it was 0.50 something.
Yeah, the Zambian kwacha was actually stronger than the South African rand. I think we need to see, we go back to those issues. But maybe let's see where we have to go. Talking about the Zambian kwacha's performance, yesterday a dramatic event took place where the New Heritage Party President Chishala went to protest. She, of course, was protesting against the high cost of living. A long protest yesterday where she was saying the economy is biting. People are barely surviving, including those who voted for this administration, are failing to talk because things are really hard. So I will be their voice and I will speak. What is your comment with regards to what the Heritage Party leader did yesterday, that is Madam Chishala? Maybe just to get you back to what we are talking about, let us see what she did yesterday in this clip.
Not happy with the current high cost of living in the country, opposition leader of the New Heritage Party, Chishala, took to the street of Lusaka Wednesday morning to hold a one-man protest against the high cost of living, hoping her action will prompt the United Party for National Development Administration to act beyond and urgently address the issue.
To be able to make ends meet, as As New Heritage Party, we've been constantly asking the government to address this issue of the cost of living, but it seems like they have other priorities. And the reason we are protesting is because we want to see them address this, begin to address, at least if we can begin to see a difference, but we are not seeing any difference at all. It's not just the people in the compounds, it's everybody, even yourself.
The current administration, including the Republican President Hakainde Hichilema himself, have on several occasions assured the people of Zambia that they are doing everything possible to address the high cost of living, though telling citizens that the blame should not be put on them, but the previous administration.
The New Dawn administration took over government. The economy was growing in the negative at negative 2% GDP growth rate. And today, the economy has moved from negative 2% to 2% positive growth rate. That is progress. So, when we talk about the cost of living, let us agree that the cost of living reflects the state of the economy. And the state of the economy is one which we inherited.
Standing in the CBD of Lusaka while holding a signpost written Njala Mumanyumba, Ms. Kateka, who seemed not to be bothered by the wind and freezing weather, with the sunglasses on, told the media that the UPND administration need to pay attention to the cries of the majority Zambians and address the issue urgently. The opposition leader questioned why the high cost of living is going up while inflation has gone down.
If inflation has gone down, what has caused that inflation to go down? They are not explaining. And then, if the inflation has gone down, why is the cost of living going up? That's what we are asking. And we are saying, can they do something about this?
Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
There you have it, New Heritage Party leader Tishala Kateka there protesting against the high cost of living. According to Mrs. Kateka, the things are not reflecting what is happening in our economy. The inflation rate, where they are showing us that inflation has reduced, we are seeing the fact that the price of commodity are still up. But you are saying inflation is reducing. You're not explaining to the people how inflation is reducing while the cost of living is going up.
Basically, I think she just wants a clear explanation on how inflation has reduced, but then prices on the market are not reducing, because it's supposed to work hand in hand. If it reduces, prices should reduce. So we're not seeing that, and I think that's her main concern in her protest.
And of course, but what is your take for those who are watching us in the comfort of your home or on a gadget, you are traveling, and of course maybe in the comfort of your office? What is your take with regards to Madam Tishala Kateka's decision to protest against the high cost of living? And of course, in that same clip, we did see the United Party for National Development spokesperson Cornelius Mwita, who's also the Southern Province Minister, explained to say when we took over the economy was growing at a negative. In fact, it was not growing. The economy was at a negative. It was stunted. If we had to use the word
premature, it was suffering from kwashiorkor.
It was stunted, and now we've taken over office, and we've seen now the GDP of the economy is growing above 2%. So according to him, he says we are going in the right trajectory. It is not that in a single day we can make things happen. If maybe reducing the cost of living was as simple as introducing free education, if at all reducing the cost of living was as simple as removing cadres from the bus stops, we could have already done that, because we promised the people of Zambia that we are going to introduce free education, and we've done that. We promised there will be no cadreism, we've done that. We promised there will be no corruption, we've done that. But we promised that we'll reduce the cost of living. Unfortunately, we couldn't do that as at now.
I think people should come to understand that certain things are a gradual process. I've heard a lot of government officials saying some things take time to change. You just don't wake up the other day and everything goes back to normal. Even last week in Parliament, I heard the Vice President Mtalena Lumango say some things take time to change. We are working on it, and the UPND government is on track, and it will deliver all its promises. So maybe we should give them time and wait.
Yeah, economic recovery also today is a topic of discussion. What is it that Zambia needs to do? So later in the program, we are going to have our guest who is going to help us just discuss this particular topic. There you saw Madam Tishalakateka protest against the high cost of living. She's saying in Njala mumanyumba, yachila.
And people can't access 3 meals a day, but then to some extent it's true. Because prices have gone high. Prices have gone high. Prices of cooking oil, prices of mealie, prices of sugar. A 2 kg sugar is 42 kwacha, which used to be at 35 kwacha. So people are really complaining. And for those that can't make enough income, I really agree with her.
Maybe I've got a particular question. When the Patriotic Front government was leaving office, how much was a bag of mealie meal? How much was sugar? How much was cooking oil? Before we condemn the current administration in the last 9 months. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about people who are talking about the high cost of living and stuff like that. Maybe for those who are watching us on this program, let's get to interact. Let's get to hear what you have to say. How much was mealie meal in your area when the current administration left office? And how much is it now? Because I've even seen from the opposition opposition Patriotic Front leaders who are saying the cost of living has really gone high. Mealie meal has gone high. But the question is, how much was mealie meal when you left office?
It was still 140, 150.
Yeah, I remember buying a bag of mealie meal at 160 and 170, 170, 100 kwacha and 70 kwacha. A bag of mealie meal during the previous administration, during the previous administration reign, and of course for the current administration. We've seen mealie meal is how much? 140? 150?
Yeah,
but I remember at one point during the previous administration, we did even 180. Then it reduced at
during
140.
election time. It dropped up to 130, and then but it's election time, so they were trying to soothe the people, probably.
Yeah, so maybe when we talk about the high cost of living, is it that this is the first time it is happening, or it was an inherited thing? That's why maybe we've continued to see it. Maybe for someone who's watching, let's get to hear, maybe that might not be the case. Maybe in your area, things have become more expensive than they were last time since this current administration took over office.
And is it just because it's a new administration that we're blaming them and we want to see rapid change? Okay, tell us, how is it in your area? How much were you buying certain commodities that you need and in an everyday basis?
Madam Tishalakateka there protesting, and a lone man protest against the high cost of living in Manyumba ya China. She's saying the government needs to up its game in improving the current situation. High cost of living, inflation is reducing while it is not reflecting that there is a reduction in the price of commodity. And inflation, talking about inflation, this is a very important topic. For a long time we've been bringing people on this program to explain what inflation is. Why is it that inflation is reducing? I remember last time we even hosted the Central Statistics Interim Statistician General, Mulenga Musepa, of course, who came also to explain why we are seeing inflation reducing while the cost of living is still high. And of course, he did mention to say inflation is basically the movement or rather the change of movement or measure in the price of goods and services over a particular time. So between last year and now, that's why we measure annual inflation, monthly inflation. Sometimes you realize that the annual inflation is slowing down,
but the monthly
inflation is going up. So I think, and sometimes there is also we look at is it how the price of goods are shifting. Yes, I think when the Central Statistics are doing that, they give all those figures. So you find that sometimes annual inflation is reducing. Annual inflation simply means there's change in the price of goods and commodities in a year period. So if last year the price were increasing, remember, inflation does not mean the price is reducing, it means it's increasing. So if last year it was increasing by 25%, that same period up to today, it is increasing, but the price of commodity is increasing at 10%. It doesn't mean it has stopped moving, no. Inflation is the movement in the price of commodities over a given period of time. So that's why you'll notice that the price, the way it was moving last year, and the way it is moving this year is different. Last year it was moving at 22%, 19% in a month between 2021 to 2020. So we measured 2020 to 2021. So you find that In 2020, the way the price was moving, at the same period with 2021, it's different because in 2021, the price has skyrocketed. But this year, again, if you measure between last year and this year, the price is moving, but it's moving maybe
at a slower pace.
At 10%. But if you go maybe to the monthly inflation, you realize that it has increased with the way it was moving last month. Maybe last month things were better, but this year the price of commodity has slightly increased, thereby pushing the monthly inflation to that particular spark. So that is basically inflation. I think people sometimes misunderstand.
Maybe we need to educate people so that they don't use the wrong terms when they're not understanding what we're talking about. Because we can be complaining, whilst we're actually doing good on an annual basis. It's just that the monthly basis is affecting us. We are doing bad.
Yeah, and of course, maybe when you see how much is the food inflation, or if there is even food inflation, you realize that maybe it's going up. But the monthly inflation, the annual inflation is showing that there is a reduction in the way the price is increasing. So inflation does not mean the price is reducing. No, it means it is increasing. And I remember Mr. Msepamlenga gave an example to say if a car is moving at a speed of 60 kilometers per hour, it doesn't mean when it reduces to 40 kilometers per hour, then the car stops moving. No, it means it's still moving, but it has just reduced the speed at which it is moving. Then we saw the Chilufya Tayadi also argue to say, no, it's because people have no money in the economy. When people have no money, there is no demand. As a result, inflation reduces. So anyway, I don't know, this economics, we have a lot of explanation over that issue. But anyway, let's get to see what others have to say over the same thing. We've got Kaluti Maonde on Facebook who says, improve the agriculture sector, more especially giving the loans to the farmers to expand their farming system. That is a good submission there. That is coming through from Kaluti Maonde on Facebook, who's given a very good submission. He says, improve the agriculture sector, more especially giving loans to the farmers to expand their farming system. This is a very important aspect that we have. I remember the other day someone was saying, you know, the agriculture sector has got a lot of potential to end the country forex, but the FISIP program is not helping because FISIP does not give diversification.
Yes,
it's just maize.
It restricts the type of crop you can
grow.
That
people have to grow to only maize and soya beans. Yeah, this time they've started adding soya beans, but even if they add soya beans, it's in very low quantities. So they were saying, I think there's a way that the FISIP program can be done to include other crops for them to diversify.
I think it should be redesigned so that we cater for all crops in the market, so that we export more. Zambia can really export more when it comes to the agriculture sector.
Okay, thank you so much for everyone who's sending those comments. We are seeing them. Mwango Chinene, I've seen that comment. Thank you so much. And everyone who's just following us on Facebook, let's get to interact. What is your comment with regards to the lawn protest yesterday that was conducted by Madam Tishala Kateka, who's the New Heritage Party president, against the high cost of living? Today in studio, we are going to have a guest, of course, where we are going to discuss economic recovery. What is it that our country needs to do to recover its economy? Zooming in other headlines, yesterday we also had other stories that made headline. Unfortunately, on a sad note, a woman yesterday committed suicide at the flyover bridge in Mississippi compound. She jumped through the bridge and she died on the spot. This is a very sad situation, and this brings me a lot of questions. Why do we have a lot of suicide cases in our country? Is it that we are not keeping each other as others keeper? Are we not really seeing what is happening with our neighbors? Or maybe when people share problems with us, we begin to laugh at them.
I have read somewhere they say when immediately you share a problem, people will just have a certain attitude towards you. They'll start looking at you in a different way. So people withdraw from sharing their problems. They rather keep it to themselves, and it's eating them up. And the more you don't talk about it, the more it's eating you up. And by the time it will be too late, you would have done something to yourself that you're not supposed to do if you had shared. So I think we're supposed to create these, I don't know if it's friendly centers with each and everyone in our community, as in like at least have somebody you can talk to, or maybe just the world generally should show kindness to people and don't judge them.
Okay, let us get to see this clip of what happened yesterday on a sad note.
With increased cases of suicide in Zambia, one wonders if the country is keeping watch on each other or whether people are too afraid of sharing their problems for fear of being laughed at. When is the 22nd June 2022, a woman identified as Mutinta Mambo took her own life for unknown reasons by jumping off the Mississippi footbridge along Kafio Road in Lusaka. According to an eyewitness, it is alleged that the woman might have been suffering from depression caused by the death of her beloved boyfriend. And another witness has narrated to Camnet News what he saw before the victim ended her life. For this woman, who happens to be the victim's friend, she explains as she sheds tears that the friend left home without disclosing where she was going. Meanwhile, when contacted for a comment, Police Deputy Spokesperson Danny Mwale says police have launched investigations to establish the actual cause of the incident and says the deceased, who sustained a deep cut on the head and was pronounced dead upon arrival at the University Teaching Hospital. Therefore, there is need for the community members to keep watch of one another and offer solutions to those depressed if the country is to win the fight against suicide. Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
There you have it. On a sad note, a woman yesterday committed suicide by jumping over the flyover bridge. This gives me, you know, a thought, Cherish. This is not the first time that someone is committing suicide at that bridge.
I don't know. That bridge, I don't know what goes on at that bridge.
Last time we had someone who hanged themselves just on that bridge. They hanged themselves and died. They actually committed suicide, and that was the first time we saw that happening. At the same spot, yesterday someone committed suicide. What is maybe the problem in our country? Why are we having people committing suicide in such a way?
On social media, you read that we're a depressed generation. People have a lot of things they're keeping to themselves, and they really can't open up. So I don't know who should play the role. I don't know if it's a family members, if it's community, if it's the church. I don't know. I think we should look at this as a national crisis. People can't just be committing. So we're losing precious lives. People who have got solutions for our economy, for our health sector, and we're losing them to suicide. Things that we can avoid. So I think we should address this. The relevant authorities should address it.
Yeah, and of course, the man who spoke there, he said before the lady jumped, actually, she was there for quite some time.
Yes.
If we keep watch of each other, I'm sure maybe if you notice someone is maybe loitering around a place for a long time, you approach them and just ask them, what is the problem? So I think maybe people just saw her and they ignored.
Actually, the man actually narrated when I was there, and he said, they asked the woman, what are you doing there? She said she was waiting for somebody. Apparently, some man asked her, Wankala pota wita chani. Then she said that nimbekeza bantu. And then just as like they turned, they just saw somebody falling in a split of 2 minutes, which is sad.
It is sad. Maybe perhaps if they continued with the conversation, she would have opened up.
Maybe even just getting the person away from the scene. Maybe if they took her down, maybe continue conversating with her, but then they take her down. Maybe that would have helped. But really, I think the family doesn't really know what caused her to do that, because if you can see in the video, they were crying. You just left home. You didn't say where you were going, and you come and jump off the bridge, which is really sad. And we should be our brothers and sisters keepers. Let's take watch of each other. Know what your friend is going through, your sister. And in these homes, let's create room for people to express themselves. Let's not create these boundaries where somebody, when they come to the house, it's just eat, sleep, do chores. They can't even express themselves. I think that should be the way forward.
Yeah, that's true. I'm from Ziamba there. He says the issue of mental health should be taken seriously. Very true, Mr. Mziamba there. The issue of mental health in our country needs to be taken seriously. Thank you for that comment. And of course, institutions, maybe in most of the time, I think only hospitals have offices where they look to psychological issues. But we have a lot of people who are doing psychology in the country. I think we need to start seeing other institutions and other offices of psychologists coming up. Maybe it would be easy.
And another thing is that we should stop thinking that if you've got a mental issue, you're totally a lunatic. It's not really the case. I have watched a lot of programs that mental specialists are saying people don't understand that there are certain disorders that lead to really great mental issues. So even just the slightest of moodiness, moody changes, some people have certain characteristics and behaviors that they, according to them, are mental issues, but people don't go to the clinic, so those things are not addressed. And over time, they grow into those mood swings, and at the end of the time, these are people you see, they cut themselves, they hurt themselves, because they're going through a lot, but then it's not seen as a mental problem. So I think we should intensify the sensitization about mental issues. In general, it's not a bad thing. We should go to the clinic. If you have serious mood swings, like today you're happy, tomorrow you're sad, maybe you're bipolar, people should also read about this so that you should understand yourself. Because I have friends that are bipolar, but then they don't know that they're bipolar. But me, because I've read about it, I'm able to tell this person is bipolar. They wake up today, they're happy. Tomorrow, they're sad. But then there's nothing that has changed, that has happened for them to change their mood drastically like that. So I think we should intensify, and we should also read. The knowledge is everywhere. It's online. You can read about it, understand yourself, and understand others.
That's true. On economic recovery there, we have Vincent, who says, in order to achieve economic recovery, we should become productive. Very true, Mr. Vincent Kiamasengo. I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. Mr. Vincent in Kiamasengo there says, in order to achieve economic recovery, we should become productive. That is very true. A lot of youthful people in our economy are not doing anything, Cherish. We have a lot of people who are just loitering around the street, looking for who to rob.
Who to rob and who to harass. Basically, when I'm going home, I see a lot of young people who, if they do something productive, would make a living for their lives, but then they're harassing motorists, they're getting money from people, which they say is a form of hustling, but then there are other productive things that a young person can do that don't involve you being abusive, you being violent to other people. So I think there are a lot of things us young people can involve ourselves in, and then there's, right now, entrepreneurship is really the key for young people, and then there's a lot of ways you can make money. You can make money off your voice, you can make money off you just build a brand, you can make money out of anything literally nowadays. It's not strict to education.
Including the grass, that Simba grass that is on your yard. You know, when I'm passing through Sanshia in Lusaka at the roundabout there where we have a roundabout, and you are going as if you're going Sanshia, just opposite that road which goes inside, I see a lot of people who sell this Simba grass. And one day I was very shocked. I just tried to stop. I was driving by, then I stopped and I asked to say, how much is this bag? And they told me 160. I'm like, wow. Because
you're supposed to have good Simba grass for your yard. So people who want good Simba grass will actually go and buy.
Yeah, 160. That's a good price. If you've got 10 of that, that's more than 1,000. That's good money. Yeah, that's good money. If you sell 20 bags in a day of that, that's good money. You can. It's good for you to even start up a productive business if at all you're just serious. But we take everything for granted. If you see someone has a lot of Simba grass at their place, they don't know what to do with it. As a young person, you can go and say, I want to clean this for you by removing some of the Simba grass. You can offer free service. They agree. You remove that Simba grass, you put it in sacks and everything.
I have a friend who started they don't have a cleaning company. They just advertise, like posters are easy to make nowadays if you have a computer. So they said they can clean your house. Like if you want to move into your house, they can come and with their things and clean. And they get good money out of that. Depending on how big their house, they charge 1,000, 1,500, and they get good money. They're just a group of young people, like about 3. They just have the normal things you need to clean a house. They go, you clean your windows, clean your house before you move into it. And they make good money out of that. And then the young people who are just sitting around waiting and crying to government. Government doesn't have all the solutions. Sometimes take it upon yourself and do something.
For real. So, Mr. Vincent Kiamasengo there, thank you for that comment. We need to become productive. If each one of us today decided to come up with something that is going to give them an income. Imagine if today I started a business, I employ someone. You also start a business and employ someone. We would make Zambia a better place to live in. But we have a lot of productive people who are actually not doing anything. You know, I feel impressed when I'm passing through Kalingalinga and I'm seeing a lot of youths involving themselves in carpentry. That's a good gesture. And some of those, you can go there and learn for free.
And then
there are people there who,
commitment.
Yes, who allow you to just go there and monitor what they do. That's the greatest teacher that you have. Just go there, see what they do over time. Sometimes even offer to assist for free. When that happens,
you learn, you start your own thing.
Start your own
Most
thing.
young people lack commitment and they like fast money. That's the problem I have noticed with my fellow young people. We love fast money and we lack commitment. You can start something just because you made losses today, you give up. Tomorrow, you turn into abusing drugs and you lose your way just like that.
I know a lot of people maybe are waiting on CDF, and the CDF has taken longer than usual. Yesterday, the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Gary Nkombo, held a press briefing where he revealed that they are going to be revealing some of the acts that are involved in the accessing of CDF in order to simplify it. Let us see what the minister said yesterday, even as we get to interact over this issue.
Concerns have been raised on how effective the Constituency Development Fund initiative is, citing the procedures to accessing the said funds is long. However, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development Gary Nkombo says his ministry is committed to resolving bottlenecks associated with the funds.
Working with the various stakeholders is reviewing the implementation of the increased CDF so far to understand and address some of the issues that may be of concern to our stakeholders.
Flanked by Community Development Minister Doreen Mwamba, Small and Medium Enterprise Development Minister Elias Mwanga, Youth, Sports and Arts Minister Elvis Nkandu, Mr. Nkombo disclosed that a total of 1,3,656,525 kwacha has so far been disbursed for secondary boarding school and skills development bursaries, community projects and empowerment funds. The local government minister says despite challenges the program is facing, his ministry is committed to resolving them and advise political players to understand that any amendments to the CDF guidelines is subject to reviewing the CDF Act No. 11 of 2018.
That the CDF guidelines were drafted in line with the Constituency Development Fund Act. Therefore, any amendments to the guidelines require to be changed alongside with the legislation or the law that guides the functions of the CDF.
And Community Development and Social Services Minister Doreen Mwamba expressed sadness that women in only 10 constituencies have accessed the empowerment grants.
We really need to, apart from just having these press conferences and telling them where we are with the CDF, we also need to have a huge press conference to talk about the mindset change and just be switched on and move with time. That's what I wanted to say.
During the same briefing, Small and Medium Enterprise Development Minister Elias Mwanga disclosed that his ministry is equal to the task to ensure cooperatives are registered at a speed of light.
Personnel to try and, finalize the backlog in the ministry. So this, to just try and, wrap up with the Honourable Minister what he said, the government is concerned.
Meanwhile, Youth, Sports and Arts Minister Elvis Nkandu has advised the citizens to desist from regarding CDF as a hoax.
It's real, it is happening compared to the 1.6 million, even when we haven't even disbursed the 25.7, but at least we have disbursed the 6.4 million. If you compare.
Despite the various efforts that are being undertaken towards making the program effective, many questions still remain unanswered, among them when the funds will be fully accessed. One only hopes the challenges are tackled for them to benefit. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Okay, that was Yesterday's meeting by the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and of course we saw Minister of Small and Medium Enterprise Elias Mwamanga was there. We saw the Minister of Youth, Sports and Art who was equally there, and the Minister of Community Development, Doreen Mwamba, who says it is disappointing that only 10 women so far from all the provinces have been able to access this CDF. We need a lot of sensitization for women to know what needs to be done. And of course, the Minister of Local Government there says they are reviewing the CDF Act to ensure that it is suitable for the accessibility, easy accessibility of the CDF fund. For those who are watching, maybe what is your comment with regards to that? Of course, a lot of things are happening in our economy, and economic recovery still remains key at tackling the current challenges that we are facing in the country. Speaking about economic recovery, we are going to take a short breather where we are inviting our guests for this morning to just talk about what is it that Zambia needs to do in order to recover our economy. For all those who are watching us on Facebook, we appreciate those comments that are coming through. We are listening to what you have to say. Keep the comments coming and we are going to read them. For those who need to phone in, please phone in and let's get to interact. Remember, the solution to economic recovery is with you, the stakeholders who are watching this program, the stakeholders who are in the comfort of your home. Sometimes it's very difficult for you to really point out some of the areas that government needs to work on, but this platform gives you an opportunity to just call and submit that important point. We might not know, maybe that's what we need.
Just make your submissions. Practically anything, any idea you have can make the economy better. We might not know, government might not have all the knowledge, that's why it needs people, and through programs like this you can make your submissions and let government know of that thing that they should do to make sure that our economy is recovered and is stable.
Yeah, of course. So speaking about that, we are going to go to take a short breather. Stay tuned to Camnet TV. Don't go away. We will be back shortly.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
Thank you so much, the Camnet viewer, for staying tuned to Camnet TV, not just another channel. This is a breakfast show where we discuss a lot of important happenings in our country. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we come to your screen every morning from 07 hours to 09 hours. Today, we are looking at economic recovery. Earlier, we played a clip where the leader of the New Heritage Party, Shalakateka, was protesting over the high cost of living, appealing to the government to urgently table the issue. But the question that we asked this morning is, who has the solution to what is happening around? Before we went for a break, we did mention that the solutions actually to what is happening in our economy is with you, the viewer, at Camnet TV. Speaking about that, in studio this morning, we are joined by Reverend Manduli, who's the presiding reverend for Predestined Life Bible Church here in Lusaka. Reverend, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, thank you. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Reverend.
Good morning to the viewers out there.
Yeah, of course. You're wondering, how is a Reverend talking about economic recovery? Remember, we have mentioned that the solution to the happenings around lie in you, the viewer, who's watching Camnet TV. And if you do not bring those solutions, the economic recovery that we talk about is not going to be a factor, because we are going to leave it to the politicians to do that alone. But if we all came together as stakeholders, made those submissions, made those contributions, we would make Zambia a better place. And of course, someone on Facebook just sent a message and said, we all need to be productive. For real, we equally need to be productive in order to contribute to economic recovery. So, Reverend, thank you so much for honoring our invitation on the program to just speak about economic recovery. So maybe just talking about that, so far, how would you rate the performance of the United Party for National Development when we talk about economic recovery?
I think the issue of rating is one that is subjective. But I would be able to say that I think they have seemingly started on a good footing. I think there is a lot that still needs to be done in order for them, I think, to achieve certain meaningful achievements that the majority of people of the country, Zambia, will be able to appreciate this administration. Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about sector by sector when we speak about economic recovery. Our agriculture sector, is our agriculture sector doing enough to contribute to the development and the growth of our country? If not, what is it that we need to do?
I would say that there are strides that have been made, but a lot more needs to be done. A lot more needs to be done. And I've been one person that has held this view for a very long time, because I come from the background where I saw the administration of UNIP. I lived in that administration under the leadership of the first Republican president, may so rest in peace, Dr. Kaunda. One of the things that that president championed was agriculture, and he called for the people to go back to the land, especially those that were in the city. And I remember in those days, you know, it looked awkward. It was like people felt like this man wanted to be in the city alone and send everybody to the village.
To the villages.
But today I think that what Dr. Kaunda stood for makes a lot of sense now. And I hope that I would have wished that you know, people then were able to tap into that call at that early stage, because some of the countries that we see having you know, agriculture successful in their own nations, it's because of you know, the foundations that were laid. These things don't just happen overnight. It's not an abracadabra thing. So there must be a foundation. Another aspect was what then under the administration of UNIP they had what was called I don't know whether they called it youth service. I've just forgotten, but those that were coming from secondary school, it was compulsory for you to go into ZNS. Immediately you did your grade 12.
Wow.
And part of that preparation was also agriculture. They were trained in military, but they were also trained in agriculture. And that helped a great deal. And if you know, successful governments, say for example in 1991 when we had the advent of the multi-party democracy being restored under the MMD, we should have built on that. But there was a lot of, you know, changes and discarding of certain things And that has led to where we are, unfortunately. And it's like we're trying to reinvent the wheel, which is very unfortunate. But I think that for me, another issue is this issue of, you call them, is it peasant farmers or consistent farmers? There's a term that is used for the low-grade farmers. Okay. They've been on what you call farmer support, they just keep changing these names, you know, but they've been consistently being helped. And we haven't seen a graduation of these, you know, farmers, so that, you know, there is a system where those that, you know, were supported for a certain period of time, they graduate, so that you have, it's like school, you cannot be in secondary school or primary school forever.
For 10 years, 7 years.
So it is that system that has also been compromised, because it has been somehow politicized, and therefore farmers have been made to depend on this support. And therefore politicians have taken advantage of it to the detriment of the agriculture sector. So we should have made a lot of stride, including what we are calling now, you know, diversification and what you call this, where you are now add valuing.
Value addition.
Value addition, yes. Thank you for that. Value addition. That we should have achieved that a long time ago. This call for the Buy Zambia products, we should have been the ones that, you know, should have been exporting most of these products, whether it's groundnuts, whether we talk about maize, okay, and so many others. You know, Zambia grows a lot of rice, you know. We have the rice that is grown in Mongo, and is it in Nakonde?
Yes.
And so if that was supported, there was a proper mechanism in place, we should have been exporting, not only having enough to, you know, sustain the locals, but also to export. You know, we grow a lot of tomatoes, which go to West, a lot of onions, and these have been like a talk show. We talk about this so many times, but without having, you know, tentative solutions that could help this agriculture sector holistically grow to a place where, you know, we can be able to say, I think we are an agriculture giant country.
Like South Africa, we've seen South Africa do that. Earlier in the program, we talked about it with Cherise, so say we are importing, including fruits from South Africa, such as oranges, apples, even bananas. We are now impressed that bananas we've a bit reduced because we have a farmer who's supplying a lot of bananas here. But of course, they've also found markets in Congo where they are exporting. As a result, even depriving us, the local people, of that resource. So maybe in the area of even fruits, when we talk about fruits, are we doing enough as a country?
You know, there are a lot of lemons, there are a lot of guavas, there are a lot of mangoes that I see that, you know, in fact, the unfortunate thing is that also these things seemingly, you know, are seasonal. We seem to have them, you know, in seasons. But, you know, if the agriculture sector is well supported and detached from politics, you know, politics is a very huge enemy to any development when you attach it to developmental issues, you know. There must be a place for politics. But when it comes to development, I think all of us, regardless of our, you know, affiliations and backgrounds and everything, we must be able to come together and support, you know, the economic agenda for the development of our country. So whether we talk about it from the agriculture sector, the mining sector, and so many other sectors, the manufacturing sector, we should be able to detach politics from that. I remember the issue of the textile industry. It's one that has been talked about.
And we talked about that earlier in the program.
But only on campaign platforms. You know, when it is campaign time, then you hear this one saying we're going to do that. We also have, you know, is it, what is this place where they are supposed to be producing, where they do production of urea within our country?
NCZ.
NCZ.
Yes.
You know, these are infrastructures that were established by the UNIP administration. But what have we done to enhance them, to development? In this technological era, we should have been talking about, you know, having, you know, advanced technology with NCZ in the agriculture sector. But you know, we have farmers that, you know, have been coming from Zimbabwe, from South Africa, and we live in these commercial farmers, and they seem to be the ones that, you know, take the lead. And our own farmers have been in existence for as long as, I don't know, probably since before all of us were born. They've been, our forefathers have been doing farming. You know, that's what we've been living on. Even the cassava we're talking about, now there is a talk of cassava. This is one other product that, you know, if properly enhanced, developed and supported, you know, it could be, you know, a cash cow, you know, for many of our farmers in the rural areas and in the villages. We shouldn't have been talking about, you know, these ancient village setup arrangements that we still have. You know, we should have been talking about, you know, villages that are developed in other countries, you know, like Botswana and other places in South Africa. You find that, you know, places they call the villages are developed. Here, it's still, you know, they're like, you know, where you keep animals and stuff like that. Very unfortunate. Very
Let's talk about maybe land access. We do see sometimes when a foreign investor comes in the country, even when they go to these headmen, it's very easy to even be given 2,000 hectares of land for them to venture into the agriculture sector. But when a local person goes and asks the same question, sometimes it becomes difficult for you to access that piece of land. Do you think we have the right policies that favor local people to buy land in this country?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And it's very unfortunate. For me, let me maybe belabor on this issue, because I think it's one issue that each time I reflect on it, I think that, you know, I feel these goosebumps. Because, you know, it's like we are giving out land as though, you know, there is a place where land is produced.
As if we have it.
No, as if there is a production center where you can go and acquire land and, you know, enlarge your territory. These are marked boundaries. You know, land is limited. That is why in other countries, foreigners are not allowed to own land. They can only rent it. It's only, you know, places like Zambia where we sell land, like, you know, we are selling tomatoes and rape and stuff like that. Very, very unfortunate. And we are selling it to foreigners. You see that? And if we are not careful, one day, this country, unfortunately, God forbid, we might find ourselves, you know, squatting in our own country. So the land policy must favor the locals, the indigenous people, because it is only this land, you know, that gives us, you know, the power, if I may use that word, you know, to be able even, you know, to not only to develop, but also to be able to access certain privilege and opportunities. For example, financing, you know, we can be able to use land as collateral and so on, you know, but if this policy is still, you know, the way it is, and there's a lot of politics attached to it. Again, it's one other area that has been politicized. I know that, you know, the UPND administration has been talking about trying to make certain changes and so forth, but I think I'll be one person that will be bold enough to say that I'm not impressed with the current Minister of Lands, the way he's been going about these issues. Because there's issues that, you know, this administration championed before they got into government, the issue of the Forest 27. But, you know, there's been this seemingly backtracking and a talk of, you know, issues of studying and cost to it, which for me doesn't make any sense at all. You know? So
it was a campaign, one of the campaign promises they made, but after getting into power,
so
they forget about it.
If we can be able to behave like that, I have a lot of, I have some reservations in regards to how we're going to ensure that, you know, the policy that, you know, is put in place favors the local people. Yeah, and then we should only allow, like the way the president has been talking about the issue, is it of Mukula?
Yes.
And I think the mining licenses, where, you know, the locals are the ones that are empowered with these licenses, and then the foreigners can come and partner. You know, this is the way even the issue of land should be. There must be this, you know, the government must be able to do everything possible to ensure that, you know, land is not accessed by foreigners. It is only accessed by the indigenous people, and foreigners can only partner with the locals in order for them to rent land.
Of course, when you said that, I was talking to myself to say is equally gotten into the point that I was just driving at. We are now looking at the mining sector. We have spoken about the agriculture sector. We have spoken about the land issue in the country. Let's now talk about the mining sector. This is one sector in the country that contributes to the country's basket. If anything, we get a lot of resources that drives the economy from the mining sector. But the way the mining sector currently is, do we as a country, or are we as a country, benefiting enough from the mining sector? What is it that we need to do in order to ensure that the mining sector contributes significantly to the development of our country?
You know, it's only, I think, a person, and with all due respect, I think it will only be a person who is not in the right frame of mind who would assume or think. And sometimes I listen to the people that are said to be experts, you know, in these fields, whether they're economists or engineers and so on, mining experts. And sometimes the argument, for me, doesn't really add up. Because, you know, these minerals have been in existence for a very long time. We found them. And many that, you know, lived in the days of ZCCM and so on, many of them are gone, you know. But yet, you know, these minerals are still there. At some point, I remember hearing statements from some politicians. I don't know whether it was under the MMD administration or is it under the PF administration, where some politicians were even, you know, projecting that, you know, these minerals had only a lifespan of 20 years, 15 years. You know, this is hypocrisy of the West kind. You know, these foreigners, you know, investors from outside the country do not go and put in these huge sums of money that we hear. Not too long ago, there is, I think, after the president traveled to South Africa, you remember there was a mention of some 1.3 billion? Yes, monies that were being promised to be, you know, pumped into the money. Who puts in such huge sums of money if there is no benefit? And you are an investor. You know, that should be able to tell you that there is minerals that can take us for a very long time. You know, probably this generation will grow and pass, and the minerals will still be there. And there will be other investors that will come. What we need to do, again, in this sector, is to ensure, you know, this issue of maybe let me get back to the topic, because we talked about economic recovery. Okay? And what should Zambia do? What we should do is to ensure that we begin to empower our own people. If it is the training they require, let us give them that training. If it is the expertise they need, let us give them those expertise. If it is the equipment, let us give them the equipment. If it is the financing, let us finance. Do you know China has a bank even here? Okay, Bank of China.
Bank of China.
And they fund their own people for their projects.
Wow.
You know? So what is so impossible that, you know, this government cannot be able to identify, you know, the locals that have, you know, these ideas, the brains, the capacities, and some of them the expertise, because we still have certain people, you know, that work in the ZCCM, and some of them that have been trained outside the country that, you know, can add and put together, you know, and be able to, you know, develop the mining sector. So that we don't depend on the foreigners, because, you know, we have a saying where I come from that you know, these foreign investors, they come and go. I remember at one time we had these foreigners that had established clothing shops and furniture shops, and they were given waivers for 5 years, 10 years under the MMD. Immediately those waivers expired. You know, what happened? They left. And they left us stranded. We closed our own, you know, ZCBC, NEX stores, and now we have, you know, ShopRite and Pick and Pay and these others. Someday they'll also go if the environment is not conducive for them. And we start struggling.
Food lovers reduce its shops in Zambia. We've seen Mr. Price leaving the market.
Yes. So we should be able to develop in all these sectors, whether I talk about clothing sector, but because we are talking about the mining sector. So this is my proposition. Let us empower our own people to develop. You know, no country, believe me or not, can develop with foreigners. America is, even if foreigners go there, people can argue, no, you know, you have Israelites there and all these things. But you know what the Americans do? What do? They naturalize people from other countries and they make them citizens of that country. So probably maybe if we want that these foreigners should be part of us, and we feel that they are the best people that can develop, let us then make them, you know, Zambians. Maybe that's a proposition. Otherwise, we have our own people that can be able to do this business and develop it. You know that ZCCM for a very long time has been handled by our own people. We know of the old man, what is his name, Mutini? The chairman Mutini. I think that's his name. That's his name. You know, there are people like that and many others, you know. And I know there's this foreign mind that is being led by, I don't know whether it's CEO or Chairman Kingsley Chinkuli, General Kingsley Chinkuli. At one time he was general in our own army. And if the man has been able to work with foreigners, don't you think that if that man was supported with other Zambians, you know, they could be able to do wonders in the mining sector?
They would, of
but
course.
because of these politics, you know what politics does? No, I can't work with this one. No, this one has an association with that opposition political party. So even if they have what it takes to develop, we want to sideline them. And that we should stop for the sake of the economic recovery of this country. What we need to do is bring Zambians on board together. Let us not segregate. Let's put this behavior of politics aside when it comes to development. Otherwise, Zambia will never recover because we'll have systems put in for 5 years, 10 years. When another political party comes in, they make changes. We should stop that, and we should also have politics that will outlive a political party. Once a political party leaves power, we don't have, you know, drastic changes and shifts of policies. This is what has destroyed us. And this is what has brought us to where we are.
Very important submissions there from Reverend Manduli, pardon me. In case you're just tuning in to Camnet TV, we are discussing economic recovery. What is it that Zambia needs to do? Remember, the solution to current recovery lies with you, the stakeholders who are watching this program. So let us get to interact. All those who are following us on Facebook and all the comments that you're passing, we are seeing them right now. Please keep watching Camnet TV. We are so excited that you have joined us on this program. For those who need to make your phone calls, let's keep them coming and let's ask the relevant questions. How is it that we can recover our economy? So Reverend Manduli is the presiding reverend for Predestined Life Bible Church, and of course he is offering us solutions to the current challenges that we face in our economy. We've talked about the agriculture sector, we've talked about the land acquisition, the mining sector. We are now moving on to the debt situation, a thing that has kept the country in talks for quite some time. Reverend, maybe moving on to that particular topic, debt sustainability issues. We've seen how the government is going the IMF way, even as they seek other creditors to come on board and deal with the situation. Let's get maybe to ask the question, is the IMF way the way to go in terms of acquiring resources, considering that we have a huge debt backlog of over 33 billion United States dollars of both external and internal debt?
From what I have heard from the current administration as to the reasons why they've had to go the IMF way, I think it has been, for me, what I've picked out from there as a key point is that, you know, it is about, you know, restoring the credit worthiness of the country, because IMF is, you know, a reputable institution, and so once you are able to be recognized or given, you know, credit by them, it is like, you know, an institution that is respected by creditors all over the world. So you're able to get a certain leverage that gives you some, you know, credit worthiness in order for you to either, you know, negotiate for debt or be able to also procure debt. That has been like the major reason. But I think besides that, for me, I still go back to the issue of looking within before we look outside. I do strongly believe, and I know that there are a lot of arguments, because, you know, we are in a democracy, so everyone has a right to a different opinion. But for me, I strongly believe that Zambia has the capacity.
It has the solutions.
And has the solutions in terms of dealing with the debt. We can be able to mobilize the resources within. You know, one of the issues that, you know, the president has really emphasized, which in terms of speech, I really applaud him for that, is prudence. That keyword prudence is very key, you know. One of the things that also has contributed to where we are in terms of debt is recklessness, okay? Abuse, you know, open abuse of public resources. And this is why I think we also need to support the fight against corruption ruthlessly. And I call on the president to, you know, fight this head on. He should not look at who is support, even his lieutenants around him. If they are not in support of it, he should get rid of them.
Just like
he should not compromise. You know, that, you know, when I go back into our political history, from the administration of the first president to where we are, I've always said this, and I say it with due respect. In terms of discipline, I think that President Kaunda beats them all. Because he did not compromise with whether, you know, today he was eating with Grey Zulu or Mainza Chona or whoever it was. You know, when you messed up, it is either he fired you or he transferred you. You know, and he had no qualms about it. And this is why oftentimes he called for press conferences. Those of us that, you know, lived under his administration, you know, it was like each time you hear that there will be a press conference, you know that there will be, you know...
firing and reshuffles.
Exactly, you know, firing and hiring of people. You know, the man did not compromise. So that is what we need in this current times. We need to ensure that those that are entrusted with public office, you know, they are disciplined and they are prudent in managing public resources. Remember, these are public resources. They are yours and my resources. And for the viewers out there, because we contribute to the treasury of this country in various taxes. Under the previous administration, you know, almost everything was becoming taxable.
Yes.
Boho tax. What other taxes do I remember were brought on board, including, you know, those that own properties, and you are renting them out. You are supposed to pay, is it a 10%?
10%
from the rentals that you are receiving. And all manner of tax, road tolls, road tolls. And you find that even our roads still have potholes in places where there are toll gates. And you wonder where these resources are going. And these are huge sums of money. At times under the PF administration, we had the then, what do you call him, the overall boss, his title for ZRA. Is it Director General?
He's the Chanda.
Yes, the Director General?
Yes,
called the
it's called Director General.
They would tell us about how they were able to beat, you know, their targets, you know, their annual targets. So if they are able to raise beyond what they were targeting, it means that, you know, resources are there.
And we have enough.
It is the issue of prudent management. So if we were prudent enough, or we could then begin to exercise prudence. I remember him talking about a pencil that is costing, or a pen that is supposed to cost 1 kwacha, and it is being bought at 10 kwacha or 50 kwacha. That is not being prudent. So if prudence is applied, especially in the civil service, you know, and then taken also into the private sector, then we should be able to raise these resources, beloved, and ensure that, you know, we don't even go to places like IMF to get, you know, these bailout packages. Because resources are there in the country. It is all about prudence. You know, how many times has this country gone to borrow?
A lot.
Remember that under the administration of late President, may he so rest in peace, Michael Sata, there was that 750,000 that was gotten from the Eurobond.
The Eurobond, the first Eurobond.
And it was said to be pumped into the
three sectors.
The energy sector and the railway sector. What have we seen?
The other one for youth empowerment.
What have we seen significant that has come out of those resources?
Nothing.
In terms of, you know, putting it. So it is the lack of prudence, waste, you know, and people pocketing these monies. You know, sometimes when people make these arguments and you look at truly what they've been able to acquire within a short period of time, which they did not acquire when they were outside government, that tells you that something is wrong in terms of how we are managing our resources. So for me, this debt issue, we can manage it locally if there's prudence. So the keyword, the challenge I'm throwing to this administration is prudence. Now, if anybody not prudent, there will be a lot of waste. By the time they are out of this administration, we'll begin to hear, you know, SEC, DEC, and all these other people following them.
A such situation there, we don't have to always see the law enforcers pouncing on people for waste of resources. Yes. We have Rachel Mary Mwansa here who says we need human resource and change in the education system. Let's talk about the education system. That's the point that she has raised. We have seen that the government now has introduced free education, and I have heard people argue to say, you know, free education is very expensive and it will drain almost half of the resources in the government coffers to implement this particular subject. When we want to recover our economy, how can you be pumping so much money in one sector? Let's talk about our economy, or our education sector, with regards to its contribution to economic recovery of our country. Are we doing it the right way?
One of the reasons why we are where we are is, you know, this lack of education and also the poor, perhaps I can call it, without taking away anything, I would say, you know, is it the syllabus, you know, that we've applied for a very long time. I think that it is a cake, and we need to change that syllabus. You know, one of the reasons why places like China has developed where it is now, and it is said to be number 2, almost, you know, getting to the number 1
yes,
as a superpower. It is because, you know, what they have done, in my own view and observation, and what the little information that I've come across, is that, you know, they have not relegated the education sector to just this, is it the conventional way, you know, the traditional way where, you know, you go into class, you are writing things that sometimes are not even applicable. Irrelevant. Once you come out of the, you know, school, then you start job hunting. This is the reason why we have so many job seekers. You know, even at the highest level of education, people come out of universities and they're seeking for jobs. You know, and sometimes you get them, they do not have practical experience.
Yes.
So you also need to start training them, you know, practically, for them to get the practical experience. So we need to make the changes. You know, we are not all wired the same.
Yes.
You know, we are different. And the best way of, you know, ensuring that, you know, our education sector begin to produce results. I have observed, I don't know whether I'm the only person in the studio, but please, if I have a witness, tell me so. I've seen a lot of, you know, innovations on our public media and other medias where young people, I don't know if you saw, I think it is under this administration now, a young person from the southern province that has been able to
produce electricity through a feature train.
You know,
I think I saw that one.
We see these things. There is one that was able to come up with a system that, you know, you can park your vehicle and you're somewhere, and if it is tampered with, you know, you receive a call and things like that. Such innovations, a lot of them, some that are forgotten that I cannot remember, but there are a lot of them, and these are young people.
Yes.
What are we doing as a country to develop, to tap into that, you know, knowledge, and, you know, ensure that, you know, we develop it? So that other young people. So we have young people, we have a lot of people that, you know, cannot be able to sit in class and learn mathematics, algebra, and all these things, you know, history and things like that. So if the education sector is structured in such a way that, you know, we are not just giving theory, but we are also training people practically. At a tender age, you know, begin to train them, you know, in the plumbing sector, in the carpentry sector, in the agriculture sector, in the manufacturing sector, at a tender age. then we'll not have, you know, all these useless cell phones coming and we are buying and excited. Most of these gadgets that we buy are made by young people in China. Who, when they come here, they can't speak English. But if Zambia, this is to show how dull we are, and our education sector, you know, has blindfolded us to think that, you know,
speaking English.
Some of us, our parents, don't speak English, but they're the ones that have educated us. So are you telling me that then they are dull?
No.
It is because of the intelligence, because there is also that just natural intelligence that you have, but also the traditional way that we are brought up gives us certain, you know, understanding of things. It is language. You know, there are people who speak good English, but you know they have amounted to nothing.
Yes.
So need development for Yamukano. What is it going to take you? Where is it going to take you? So we need to ensure that even if people can't speak English, we should not make it a must. Even I think in our, you know, our
curriculum.
No, is it in the sectors of employment?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Because we even give conditions,
must,
you know, must speak English, must have mathematics, these expertise. But you find that some of the people that have these qualifications on paper
can't
practically, they can't perform. So you begin to wonder why. So we need to change this mindset and ensure that our education sector develops everyone, you know, whether you know English, you don't know mathematics, but if there is an area of your strength where they can develop you, because that will contribute to the development of this country and will be able to recover our economy. Because if we are producing so many different things, because people now have the skills, you know, actually what brings bread and butter, it's skills,
not
English, not mathematics. Some of the people that you see hustling in Soweto and all this, but they built houses. They can't write mathematics here. They can't add up, you know, numbers, you know, mathematics. But they are, because they have a certain skill, they are able to make money and, you know, bring the necessary requirements in the home. So I think one of the things that we need to do is to change, you know, first of all, the mindset, and secondly, also we need to change the framework of this curriculum to ensure that, you know, we develop our people to a place where, you know, they can be able to contribute in their different strengths.
This is Reverend Manduli, and of course is the presiding Reverend for Predestined Life Bible Church, full of solutions to economic recovery that Zambia needs to undertake in order for us to reach the promised land. We have been promised a lot by the previous administration, and of course a lot of important aspects have been brought out. It's good to know London is watching this morning. Mary there says, actually I'm watching you from London. We are so excited that we had you to watch this program and make those contributions. For everyone who's been following us on different platforms, that is maybe on Facebook and of course on your gadgets and TV set, we are so excited that you were with us throughout this program. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. We could have loved to see Reverend Manduli speak even more than he has, but hey, my floor manager there has already indicated to me that we've run out of time, and this is where we have to close the program. So from me, Prudence Chota, and my co-host Cherise, and of course from Reverend Manduli, it's bye for now. Till next time, keep watching Camnet TV. Remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel.